Hi everybody, let's talk about lockout tagout just for a couple of moments. Lockout tagout is found under the 29th Code of Federal Regulations. You'll see it written as 29 CFR. 29th Code of Federal Regulations, 1910-147, the rules and regulations for lockout tagout. Now if you'll notice here it says lockout tagout authorized employees. I do that for a reason. I want to train the authorized employees, but also want to train the affected employees and the other employees that are around affected. Give you a quick description and then we'll get right into the program, because I know I'm going to repeat this, but it's important that you know this. Authorized employees are the ones who are actually authorized to implement lockout tagout using the locks and the tags and so forth. Affected employees are employees who operate the equipment that's being locked out. Other employees are the employees who work around the area, who might be working near a piece of equipment that is under lockout tagout. So make sure we understand that, because that's really important when we talk about this particular safety program. Types of employees. Like I said, I'm going to reiterate this. Employers, C&L Wood Products, employers authorize certain employees to bypass guards and enter the point of the machinery's point of operation to perform certain tasks. Most of those tasks are repair, maintenance, preventive maintenance, sometimes cleaning, something along that line. Authorized employees are employees who are responsible for the locking and tagging out equipment before the performing service or maintenance on that particular piece of equipment. Now, affected employees, remember right at the beginning we talked about authorized, we talked about affected. Affected employees, and employees are responsible for operating the equipment. An employee who works in the area could be a forklift operator, could be a cleanup person, it could be someone helping with materials, it could be a lot of different things. Now, affected employees, and hear this really clear, affected employees cannot help authorized employees service a piece of equipment. Why? You're not authorized. The authorized employee knows the lockout tagout procedures, knows the equipment, knows the hazards, know all of those things. Affected employees have to move away from the machine while it's under lockout tagout by an authorized person. But it is important that affected employees understand the importance of lockout tagout and understand the procedures, and that's why I use this one program when I'm training both, so that you're both on the same page and you have an understanding that when you see that lock or you see that tag, you know what's going on and you know what to do or what not to do. So let's talk about the lockout definition. It is the process of preventing the flow of energy, and it consists of installing locks, blocks, or chains. It could be a number of other things. It could be plug buckets, it could be valve covers, it could be a number of things. It requires an authorized employee to apply or remove the lock. Now remember, only authorized employees can apply it, only authorized employees can remove it. Now let me point this out. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but I want to point this out. You see this picture right here? Can you tell me how many people are working on this particular piece of equipment? And if you answered 3, you would be right. Why? Because there are 3 locks on that piece of equipment. Here's the terminal. This is where you turn the electricity off. Here's the hasp. Why? Because you can put more than one lock on it. This one here will hold, looks like 6. So there are 3 locks on there. That tells me there are 3 people working on this particular piece of equipment. Now when we talk about tagout, we talked about lockout, now let's talk about tagout. It's the process of placing a tag on a power source. The tag acts as a warning. Now there are some pieces of equipment, and some of your older equipment may be like this. You may not be able to put a lock on it, so you have to put a tag on it. Maybe it won't accept a lock, so tag works as the same as a lock. The tag must clearly state "do not operate." The tag is used when the machine won't accept a lock, and the tag must be applied and removed by the authorized employee. Now, there are many different hazardous energy sources that we may deal with, and you may be dealing with all of them, or you only may deal with a couple of them, maybe a few of them. So we have electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, hydraulic, chemical, thermal, water under pressure, gravity, and potential energy. There's only really two energies we deal with. One's kinetic, the other one is potential. Now, kinetic energy is, keep this in mind, you've got a spring up under a lid, and that lid is bolted down to hold that spring down. And if you don't de-energize that spring, when you take the bolts out of that lid, what's going to happen? The energy of that spring is going to release, and you're going to find that plate or that door or whatever's holding that spring down is going to be all in your face, and you want to make sure that you de-energize the spring itself. Same way with a hydraulic line. I know today a lot of times when you turn off the power to a hydraulic pump, they'll depressurize automatically. But some of the older ones who do not, if you don't de-energize that hydraulic line or lift the pressure off from it, when you start taking that nut, that wrench, and you're taking the bolt loose that holds that line on, what's going to happen when you get down to that last thread? Now, it could be all in your face. Sometimes those temperatures of the oil or hydraulic fluid or whatever in there, the chemical, whatever's in that line, can be as hot as 320 degrees, and you don't want that spraying in you. So making sure that you remove all the pressure or you de-energize whatever you're working on is critically important. Energy control program, CNL Wood Products has an energy control procedure. Employee training is something that we're doing right now. Periodic inspections, at least once a year, we have to go through the plant, review all of the procedures, the lockout, tagout procedures is what I'm talking about, and make sure that they're still correct and they're still de-energizing a piece of equipment safely. And if there's new equipment or made some changes in some equipment, you might want to make some changes in your written procedures to make sure that it's shutting down all the energy sources that are coming into that machine. I think September 21st was the last time that I actually went through and looked at the procedures for the annual procedure review. Let's look at the lockout, tagout procedures, and there's 6 of them, and it's pretty simple. The main thing you have to do is make sure you follow all of them. Don't leave out a step for any reason. Follow all the procedures. Procedures will help protect you and the people around you. I'm working right now with a group down in South Alabama where a gentleman just lost 3 of his fingers. These 3, here's how he speaks to you now. The bottom line was, if you feed your hands into a piece of equipment that's operating or into a machine that's running, that's the kind of results you could possibly get. But if you will utilize lockout, tagout, and make sure that machine is shut down, make sure it is stopped, make sure the energy sources are off from it, it is the safest thing you can do. So let's look through the procedures right quick. Procedures for controlling the energy. Prepare for the shutdown. Obviously, there's some preparation we need to do. Do we need to bring in parts? Do we need to bring in cleaning? Do we need to whatever? Then we'll look at the shutdown. We'll go through shutdown during normal shutdown procedures, whatever they normally are. Then we isolate the equipment from the energy. Disconnects, valves, whatever it might be, start shutting them down. Apply the lockout or tagout devices. So once you've shut down the disconnect or you've turned off the hydraulics and you want to lock it out, here's the point you want to do that. Then you want to make sure you release any stored energy. Remember the spring, remember the hydraulic line. If there's anything in there that's holding up pressure, that pressure needs to be released. It needs to be de-energized. And then you verify isolation. How do you verify isolation? The easiest way is to hit the start button. Once you've done these procedures and you have everything shut off and you've verified it and you have gone through and made sure you've de-energized the equipment, hit the start button. If that machine starts up, there's another energy source coming in. Now, there are occasions where the machine might jog or it might rotate, because sometimes you have a large capacitor in there that could store some energy and you may have just de-energized the capacitor. Hit that start button again. If that thing moves again, check your energy sources again. Look at all the things that are coming in. Hydraulic, electrical, pneumatic, whatever it might be. It could be multiple sources. So you want to go back through those. But if that machine doesn't move, then you're ready to move into either the repair or the maintenance or whatever it is you're there for. So let's take a little closer look. Prepare for the shutdown. Step 1, know the type and magnitude of the energy. Know what you're dealing with. Know the hazards of the energy. Is it electrical? Is it hot? Is it cold? It could be a lot of things. know the methods or means which to control that particular energy. And then we look at this. We go to step 2. Here's the shutdown. Turn off the equipment using normal controls. Use orderly shutdown, the way you always do it. And I want to go back. I want to show you something right here. Once he turns off the equipment, he goes through orderly shutdown. He's done that here. Then we'll roll over into step 3. This is where we isolate the equipment from the energy sources just to secure the lock and energy. See, this is a valve here. It has a valve lock on it, so nobody can turn the water on or the pressure on or whatever it might be. Then we apply devices. This is step 4. You notify the affected employees. I like to do that in step 1. I know it's in step 4. I like to do that in step 1. And in most cases, when a piece of equipment is down or it's scheduled for maintenance or something, there's a good chance the operator knows that, but I would make sure they know that on the front end. But once you apply your locks and your tags and your devices, then you're ready to make sure that that thing is de-energized. All right, apply devices. Only authorized employees can attach or remove tagout, lockout devices, whatever it might be. Devices must be durable. It can't be a piece of tape. It can't be a piece of cardboard or something along that line. It has to be a durable device. Devices must identify the persons who apply them. If I have a lock and I'm going to do lockout, tagout, one of two things need to take place here. One, either I need to have my picture on the side of that lock, which is what a lot of companies do, or I need to write my name on the side of that lock. So if I walk by here and I see my lock or someone's lock, it could be anybody's, hanging on this particular disconnect, I can look and say, okay, Bob's working on this piece of equipment, so I'm going to move on. So remember, all your devices, your locks, so forth, has to identify the person who is applying them. Now let's release the stored energy. Steps to release stored energy: relief pressure in compressed air lines, insert a block. There are pieces of equipment like metal stamping where you got a gravity stamp coming down at 20 tons. There's a metal block that has to, you can't just lock it out and leave it. You have to you open up those blocks and then you put a metal block up under there when you open those molds up to keep it from coming down. So that's what a block is really all about. Verify the isolation. This is step 6. Verify the machine is de-energized. Verify the machine is isolated. How do you do that? What's he doing? He's going over there pressing the start button. If that machine rotates, he may de-energize the capacitor. If he hits that start button again and that machine sits, then he's probably good to go. But if you hit that button and that machine starts up, look for some more energy sources. You've missed something along there. Now let's restore the energy. And I take this one. Look here. It says inspect the work area. The reason I say that is because sometimes I am the world's worst about working on something and having a pair of pliers here, a wrench over here, a screwdriver here. Once you complete your work, and this is for the authorized people, not for the affected people. Once an authorized person has completed their work, they need to make sure they inspect the area, because there's nothing worse than to repair a piece of equipment, put the guards and all back on, get ready to start it up, and I look in there and there's my pliers. I've got a brand new pair of channel locks laying in that machine. That's not what you want to happen. Ensure the employees are safe. Make sure that they know you're about to start this machine back up. Notify the affected employees and look around you and start the machine back up. You should be about ready to go back into production. So, quick summary. Affected employees must understand the energy control program procedures. That's what we're doing now. Stay clear of the equipment while it's under lockout tagout. Remember, only the authorized employees are allowed to conduct lockout tagout and actually use the locks and tags and enter into the point of operation to make some kind of repair or adjustment or maybe even maintenance or cleaning. So that's Lockout Tagout in a nutshell, and it's a really good program. It's a very important program for your safety and the safety of the people who are around you. And I thank you, and I hope you have a really good day.